You're listening to the Around the Huddle podcast, powered by PAC-Hub. Around the Huddle, college sports beyond the game.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Around the Huddle podcast, powered by PAC-Hub. Around the Huddle, where we talk about sports beyond the game. My name is John Gross. Hope all of you are having a fantastic start to your 2025. So many things going on in the world of sports. Look, we've touched on a lot of different aspects of college sports. Today we're going to talk about high school sports and college sports as well, but we're going to talk to one of the foremost experts on high school sports, a fantastic coach, an even better person. We'll get to him in a second. But first, a reminder, as always, our show is brought to you by PAC-Hub. Take a look, bottom of your screen, PAC-Hub connecting athletes with opportunities. PAC-Hub is such a unique program where, let's say you're a college athlete or you're a college coach. If you're an athlete, you enter the transfer portal. How am I going to get my name out there? How will I get discovered by these coaches? One way is by entering the PAC-Hub portal. Sign up today. Go to www.pac-hub.com. When you enter the PAC-Hub portal, your stats get entered, your measurables, transcripts, everything that a college coach could possibly need to know about you, it's in there. So get in the PAC-Hub portal. And if you're coming at this from a college coach perspective, you need that one or two missing pieces, right? Enter the PAC-Hub portal. You'll find your player. You want a right-handed pitcher who can throw 90 miles an hour? You can narrow that down in your search process. You want football, basketball, a whole host of sports. Check it out, www.pac-hub.com. A big thanks to everybody at PAC-Hub for all that they do. All right, our guest today is the Charlotte Observer Coach of the Decade. And that's just the start of the accolades with our guest today. He has over 400 wins as a high school head basketball coach, 10-time state champion in the basketball crazy state of North Carolina. And he's done so as the head coach of Providence Day High School in Charlotte, NC. His name is Josh Springer. Josh also has experience coaching at the collegiate level, at the D1 ranks, D2, D3, and junior college. He's coached at the likes of Ohio University, Belmont Abbey at the D2 level, a whole host of other institutions as well. Beyond coaching domestically in the U.S., he also has experience coaching internationally, and he also is a sports broadcaster. So all of that to say, Josh Springer is an expert on a lot of things that we talk about on this show, and we're going to dive into some of these discussions from more of a high school perspective, because we haven't had that perspective yet on Around the Huddle. So without further ado, let's welcome in today's guest, the one and only Coach Josh Springer. Coach, welcome on. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us today on Around the Huddle.
John, you are way too kind. Always great to be with you. And let me throw in about 43 turnovers and 73 fouls in my high school career.
You know what? I think I'm right there with you. And listen, this is what they say. If you can't play the game, you either coach it or you talk about it. So that's us two right here. But no, I appreciate you coming on. Always have some great discussions with you. And look, a lot of tremendous accolades, of course. But I know that you had quite the journey to get to where you are. So let's start there before we dive into high school recruiting, transfer portal, NIL, all that stuff. Let's learn a little bit more about you and your journey to get to where you are. You're from Appleton, Wisconsin, right?
Yes, sir. Huge Packer fan, huge cheesehead. Love the Badgers, love the Brewers, love the Bucks, and married a Southern girl. So I've spent a lot of time, obviously, down here now in Charlotte, but was really, really fortunate to get my start at 18 years old coaching. And I was an average high school player on my best day. But as a sophomore, I knew I wanted to coach college basketball. That was my dream. And I was really fortunate to have a JV assistant coach, Jerry Schutte, who looked at me near the end of one of the games, and we were winning by about 20 points. And he turned to me and he said, "Josh, I guarantee you're going to be a better coach than you ever were a player." And at 16 years old, I took that really to heart. I was just a gym rat. And I studied the game and I watched every broadcast. And I was thinking, what would I do if I were playing, or what would I do if I were coaching? And I knew I was really limited as a player, but just wanted to dive in every chance I could get. And so I was fortunate to work some camps for Bo Ryan up at Wisconsin and Tom Crean at Marquette, two just outstanding legends. And at any rate, I graduated high school at 18 years old, and my dad got a job at UW-Fox Valley, which was a junior college in the area. And John, let's just say we didn't have many resources. We had no players, no uniforms, and no basketballs when we got the job. Other than that, we were loaded. And it was an incredible experience. We didn't know what we were doing, but we were trying hard. And we had 2 years and, again, built the program from nothing. And in the third year, I was there 2 years. My dad stayed longer than that. But just we had girls who had played high school basketball. We had girls who were 26 years old from Sri Lanka and had never played basketball and everything in between. And so you have the dynamic of being an 18-year-old coaching 20, 22, 24-year-old women. That in and of itself was quite the experience, but really was fortunate to cut my teeth there, and then went to Green Bay Southwest High School. And one of my best friends in the world, Riley Wolt, was the head varsity coach at Green Bay Southwest right across from Lambeau Field. And I got on his staff for a couple years and just remember so many great nights sitting at Mexican restaurants, moving salt shakers, talking X's and O's. And still to this day, he's one of my very best friends, currently the head coach at Lawrence University, a D3 powerhouse in Wisconsin. And then was fortunate to get a grad school opportunity at Ohio University with Lynn Bria, the current head coach at Stetson. And like you said, I coached at Belmont Abbey, coached at Tusculum and Emory and Henry along the way, and learned from some great folks. And then was fortunate to get the job at Providence Day 18 years ago, and have been here since, and I'm extremely happy here. So sorry to be long-winded, but that's the not so short version.
No, that's fantastic. And it's quite the journey. And I know that like a lot of jobs in sports, everybody has a unique journey, but you have that junior college experience. And from speaking with a lot of coaches, they look back at their JUCO experience and say, wow, that was hard, but that made me who I am today. How impactful was your experience coaching at the junior college level? And is that something that you would say to an aspiring coach, hey, go get a JUCO job, because you have to be hands-on with everything in a job like that?
It's really interesting you say that, because there's a lot of coaches out there, whether they're college coaches or even high school coaches, they've only, for instance, if you're a Division I player and you get hired on a Division I staff, that's all you know is the Division I life. And I often joke, they have 10 assistant coaches, 15, 5 managers, who the heck knows there. And when you coach junior college basketball, or even when you coach Division III basketball, people say, well, who's the academic advisor? You are. Who's the recruiting coordinator? You are. Who's the travel coordinator? You are. Who's the equipment coordinator? You are. Who's in charge of the budget? You are. Who's the film guy? You are. Who's the video editor? You are. Who does the laundry? And the list goes on and on and on. And that's one of the really good things that I really look back now and really appreciate, is with that job and several others, I got to fail over and over and over in all of those areas, and hopefully hone my craft and get a little bit better, and really appreciate all aspects that it takes to try to run a successful junior college program, Division II program, high school program, whatever it might be.
And then how'd you make that transition to get into women's basketball?
It started in women's basketball when I got that job, and I never had a preference initially. Hey, I want to coach men, I want to coach women. My dad got the job at UW-Fox Valley women's program, and that's where it started. And then one thing led to another, as they say. And so most of my time has been coaching on the women's side, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it for 27 years. With that being said, I've had plenty of experiences coaching men. I've gotten to coach my sons, who are 16 and 11, through rec basketball, and then also through travel basketball. You mentioned some of the international experiences earlier, and most of them have been coaching boys programs with high school kids internationally in Australia, the Bahamas, Netherlands, Italy. And so I've been really blessed there. And I know people like to get caught up into are there big differences coaching men and women? And I believe there are some subtle differences, but at the end of the day, I believe truly, if you get to know kids, if you build relationships with them, if you truly care about them, you can coach them really hard and challenge them, no matter if they're men or women, as long as they know that you love them and care about them. And that's what we've tried to do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And of course, we've seen such tremendous growth at the collegiate level, professional level, in terms of women's basketball. Before we dive into the recruiting side of things, I'd love to know if you've noticed an impact on your high school players and some of the younger players that you coach, coming from the growth and popularity of college women's basketball and the WNBA?
Yeah, it's really exciting. It really, really is. And obviously, Mike Neighbors, the head coach down at Arkansas women's basketball, his tagline is always grow the game. Grow the game. And that sounds so obvious. And sometimes if you're the NFL and you're the king of the sports landscape, hopefully they're thinking about growing the game. But something like women's basketball has come so far over the last 50 years. And I can't wait to see where it goes the next 50 years. And obviously we're trying to win games. We're trying to win championships, trying to develop young ladies. But we talk in our program here at Providence Day about what are we doing to grow the game? And for instance, we have 160, 170 young ladies on campus playing basketball this year. And it starts at 5 years old. We have a TK through 12 campus. And so we have a little dribblers program that some of our assistant coaches run, and they are incredible at it. And so they get a PD girls basketball championship shirt. And the girls may not know if the ball's square around, but they were able to fall in love with it and get excited about, get their parents excited about, come out to a game on Friday night. And then there's opportunities with our youth rec teams. And then in 7th grade is when the kids can, quote, officially try out for one of the middle school teams. And so those are some things we do on campus here, but even other clinics, other taking kids to college games. We try to take our kids to an alumni game every year, at least one, and so they can go see North Carolina play, so they can go see a D3 school, so they can go see Queens play, so they can go see Winthrop play. And again, it's been really exciting to see the women's game take off, and I hope it continues to, obviously with the likes of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and what the U.S. women's Olympic team did and has done for the last 25 years in global domination of the sport, although the gap is very, very slim now.
Yeah, I want to talk about that gap a little bit later on with some of your international experience.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm one of the PAC-Hub's AI specialists. Today, I want to show you why PAC-Hub is the ultimate platform for college baseball players looking to transfer to a new college program. First, let's take a look at our extensive network of coaches. With over 150 coaches actively using our system, you have a huge pool of experts to connect with. Imagine having access to all these experienced coaches searching for talent like yours. You even have the ability to connect with any of these coaches via our internal messaging system. This means more opportunities to showcase your skills and find the perfect new team. Now let's switch gears and see things from a coach's perspective. Coaches can easily search for athletes by position or stat. Let's say I'm looking for a left-handed pitcher with good pitching stats. With just a few clicks, I can find top-performing pitchers who meet my criteria. This efficient search functionality ensures that coaches find the perfect fit for their teams and athletes get matched with opportunities that suit their strengths. PAC-Hub is all about connecting talent with opportunity. Whether you're an athlete looking to transfer to a new college team or a coach searching for the next star player, PAC-Hub has the tools you need to succeed. Don't miss out on the chance to be part of this amazing community. Join PAC-Hub today and take the next step in your baseball journey. Visit www.pac-hub.com to sign up now.
But diving into the recruiting side of things, you come at this from a very unique perspective, having, as we said, coached D1, D2, D3, and junior college. Now, as a high school coach and somebody who has had a bunch of your players play at the college level, how has your experience coaching in college impacted how you're able to guide your players in their recruitment process from high school to the next level?
I think it's hard. I think it's really hard nowadays because of that fancy thing called social media. And everybody wants to play the comparison game. And so I've written a couple recruiting seminars, and at the top of it, I say the genetic lottery is not fair. And I hear people say, well, my son works really hard. My daughter works really hard. That's great. There's a lot of nice kids that play basketball, soccer, tennis, football. But the number one thing the colleges are looking for is the genetic lottery. And I always say to my own children, I'm sorry, you're short and you're slow thanks to your dad, right? And I love my wife dearly, but we didn't give them the greatest genes. Now, if you don't have the greatest genes, can you still play college sports? You can, but it is much more difficult. And so I think the genetic lottery is the biggest thing colleges are looking for. And then the second thing is when everybody's tweeting about their 6 points yesterday or their 50 yards or their offer, and again, we get in this comparison game. The second bit of advice I might say is run your own race. run your own race. And I think so many times we look, well, what about the other 6 players on my team? Or what about the 4 kids across the street at that school? And how come they're getting this and how come I'm not? And I think that's a really dangerous game to play. And so I just would say, continue to focus on your own opportunities. What am I doing academically to be the best student? What am I doing athletically to be the best version of me? The reality is, John, I can work 80 hours a week at my craft. You might only have to work 7 hours. Guess what? You're just a better athlete. Life's not fair, and it never will be.
Awesome stuff. And how, as a high school coach, how involved are you in the recruitment process for one of your players, or does it vary by student athlete?
Yeah, I would say I'm very involved, absolutely, and have been. And again, have been fortunate to be here 18 years. I've coached Division I, Division II, Division III, and junior college previously. And I always say I try to be extremely honest. And I try to be extremely honest with the college coaches, extremely honest with our players, and extremely honest with our families as well to help them find the best fit. I'm not married to any one school. I'm not married to the University of Wisconsin or the University of Florida. I'm not married to any one coaching staff. You could look at where our players have gone. We've had almost 25 players go play collegiately in the 18 years I've been here. We've had McDonald's All-Americans. When you have Tiffany Mitchell, Janelle Bailey, Jatari White, who are top 25 national players, and literally every school in America is calling, wanting to do home visits. That recruitment looks a little different than when we have kids. I had a point guard a few years ago who wanted to play Division III basketball, and she said, "Coach, do you think I'm good enough?" And I said, "Absolutely. You have great IQ, know the game well." And so I got just as excited about helping that young lady go play at Center College as you do about the shiny lights of one of those Power 4 schools. And so I think it's, again, what is most important for the kid? What are they looking for? Hey, we want the top business program. Hey, I want to play right away. Hey, we want to go to a warm weather school. Hey, I want a great relationship with a female coach. Whatever is important to you, find out those top 3 or 4 things, and then try to get it. And obviously not all of the players have 50 schools to pick from, but I think it's really important to run your race with what's important to you.
Like everything else in the world of college athletics, I know that recruiting has changed drastically in recent years. The transfer portal, even just a couple of months ago, the NCAA basically saying that junior college years don't count towards your NCAA eligibility with the Diego Pavia case, the quarterback from Vanderbilt. One of the groups of people who I frequently hear are being left behind in all of this are the high school seniors, because now colleges can say, hey, if we want a point guard, let's go get somebody who has experience playing in college, or let's go get somebody who just played JUCO ball for 2 years and it was an All-American at the junior college level. How have these changes impacted how high school seniors and younger are getting recruited?
Great question. And the landscape is constantly changing. And as a high school coach, as a college coach, and as a recruit and their family, it's imperative to stay up on it all. Over the Christmas break, we had a family in doing a shoot around, and the brother of one of the young ladies shooting coaches at a Division II school nearby. And I was just talking to him about the men's side, because obviously football and basketball are the strongest revenue producing sports, and this is affecting football and basketball the most. And so he said, Josh, our recruiting is fivefold. Our first recruiting is our own players. Our second recruiting is the Division I rosters. Our third priority in recruiting are the other Division II rosters. Our fourth priority is the junior college kids because of the new rule. Our fifth priority is the high school kids. And so when you're a high school senior, and that's not unique, but when you spell it out 1 to 5 like that, that shows you the days are over of the college coaches sitting there going to 5 high school events a week and 80% of their recruiting being off of high school kids. And I think in simplest forms, why do I want an 18-year-old Josh Springer when I can get a 21-year-old Josh Springer? I was never good enough to even be in that conversation or room, but from a physical point of view, I get a much more physically mature college athlete. From a mental and social point of view, hopefully I get a more mature student athlete at 20, 21, 22 years old. 22-year-olds are not always more mature than 18-year-olds, but a lot of them are. I'm not going to get the homesick Johnny who just left and he went to school in Kansas, and now 2 months later he's dying to get back home because he's homesick. I get a kid that's used to strength training. I get a kid who's used to the college load. I get a kid who's used to studying film and playbooks and real scouting reports. And again, that doesn't mean it's impossible for high school students to go play. We have a 2025 graduate post player, Ellie Fines, who's 6'5" and signed with Western Carolina this year. And so excited for her to have that opportunity. Obviously, when you have some of the genetic lottery being 6'5", she's a sponge soaking up opportunities. Obviously, will improve on the strength training piece of the game there. But, Western Carolina and Coach Sippis said, hey, we've got to have her there. And so, again, that doesn't mean that there aren't opportunities. On our boys' side, we have one kid committed to the University of Denver. We have another one committed to the University of Howard, another one committed to USC Aiken. And so, again, it doesn't mean that the high school opportunities are gone, but it does mean that you may in the past have had 20 offers, and now maybe you have 4. Now maybe you have 7. And again, there are programs who are still recruiting exclusively high school kids, but most of the programs that I've talked to on the men's side and women's side are going with those priorities that I outlined earlier.
So what can high school students do to stand out in this process? Because like you said, the spots are limited now compared to what they were back in the day.
I think it's a 3-pronged approach still. And so many coaches I've talked to said you have to be great at 2 out of 3. And nowadays, I think you have to be great at 3 out of 3. What does that mean? Elite academics, elite character, and then elite ability. Can you play? And the saying used to be, if you're good at 2 out of those 3, you've got a chance. And now, and again, most of my time is on the women's side. Now, the more of those doors you can open with all 3 of those, the more chances you have. We've had, again, a lot of ladies go play Division I, Division II, and Division III. We've had a lot of girls say, you know what, Coach, I love playing college basketball, but I also want balance in my life. And I also want to be able to have a social life. And I also want to be able to have an off season. And I want to be able to have outstanding academics. And so they look at a lot of really strong Division III schools, for instance, in the Northeast. We have a young lady playing at Skidmore right now. We have a young lady playing at Oberlin right now. And again, everybody's looking for something different, but I think the more you can, and then I also think the more you can dive into strength training early in your high school career. Are you in a high school program that's truly preparing you for the college level? I'll admit I can be a challenging coach to play for. That's not new news. We are demanding, we have high expectations of our kids in the classroom, in the weight room, studying film, on the practice court. And I think one of the best compliments our program has gotten over and over and over is that there will always be a learning curve when the young lady goes to college. But those kids have gone to college and say, Coach, I was prepared. I was prepared. And again, they may not know they were prepared until they were in college for a year or 2, but that's something our program takes a lot of pride in, not just, hey, we're winning championships. We really want to develop these young ladies to be successful wherever they go.
I've seen a couple of reports over the last year or 2 of smaller colleges using the following pitch to get players. Hey, come here for 2 years. We will develop you, and then you can go on to a bigger school. I've seen that at football and basketball. Do you think that's a philosophy that might take hold, given the fact that, like you said, there's that 5 tiers of recruiting, and hey, the D2s, D3s, JUCOs are higher up than high school athletes?
I don't coach football and I don't coach men's basketball, but for those 2 sports, I see the junior colleges exploding. That's just my prognosis for exactly what you said. I can get a scholarship as a junior college kid. I can get my school paid for. Again, I can get bigger, faster, stronger in those 2 years, especially on the men's side where bodies change so much between the ages of 18 and 22. And then I can go get that Division I full ride or Division II full ride. I see that exploding on the men's side. I don't know if I see it exploding as much on the women's side. I think there will be some of it, but again, there's the physical part of it during those ages as well. And then also, what's the academic fit for me in getting a degree? And you hit the nail on the head earlier in terms of, I saw something on Twitter the other day. Theoretically, kids could be in college for 8, 9, 10 years now. I can go to high school. I can do a post-grad year. Then I could go to junior college in redshirt. Then I could be in junior college for 2 years. Then I could transfer to Division II or Division I school, and my clock hasn't even started yet. Then I can redshirt at that Division I or II school. Then I might get hurt. We hope not, but if you do, no problem. There's your medical redshirt. Then you have 4 years to play at Division I or II. Oh, guess what we get to do then, John? I get to transfer again and have my graduate year somewhere else. And so forget about a professional career that's 4 years, 6 years, 8 years. And I'm not saying that won't happen. Obviously, that's going to happen. But what you're going to see kids and families doing now, and again, it takes the right kid and right athlete. This isn't everybody. They can theoretically use college, get somebody else to pay for an associate's, a bachelor's, and potentially a master's degree over a 6, 8, 10-year plan while playing college basketball or football.
That's wild. That's wild. But you're right. They have to take advantage of that opportunity because, look, you're getting school paid for all these years. You better maximize it. That's so interesting. Look, I wouldn't mind going to college for 6 years. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world in my book. But wow, that's wild. So, okay, of course, we have the transfer portal. Then we also have NIL, which has trickled down to the high school level. In fact, North Carolina, where you coach, is the only state in the country as of today that allows NIL for private school student athletes, which you are coaching at a private school, but does not allow it for public school high school athletes. That may change, but as of today, that's where things stand. So in your experience, what's kind of the landscape of high school NIL in North Carolina?
Yeah, on the women's basketball side, I haven't dealt with it too much. I will say I think our school has dealt with it a little bit in terms of the football program. We've been fortunate to have a nationally ranked football program. Chad Greer has built a factory here at Providence Day over the last several years, being nationally ranked. 2 years ago, Jaden Davis was our quarterback, 5-star quarterback, and committed to the University of Michigan. He's currently playing at Michigan. And then David Sanders was one of the top recruits in the country this year and is going to the University of Tennessee. And they both were North Carolina Gatorade State Players of the Year. And so I don't know the specifics of the NIL situation, but I would imagine, again, in the world of football and being one of the top handful of players in the country, and I know On3 is big in the NIL evaluations, that both of those young men and several others might be leveraging that for some compensation.
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm one of the PAC-Hub's AI specialists. Today, I want to show you why PAC-Hub is the ultimate platform for college baseball players looking to transfer to a new college program. First, let's take a look at our extensive network of coaches. With over 150 coaches actively using our system, you have a huge pool of experts to connect with. Imagine having access to all these experienced coaches searching for talent like yours. You even have the ability to connect with any of these coaches via our internal messaging system. This means more opportunities to showcase your skills and find the perfect new team. Now let's switch gears and see things from a coach's perspective. Coaches can easily search for athletes by position or stat. Let's say I'm looking for a left-handed pitcher with good pitching stats. With just a few clicks, I can find top-performing pitchers who meet my criteria. This efficient search functionality ensures that coaches find the perfect fit for their teams and athletes get matched with opportunities that suit their strengths. PAC-Hub is all about connecting talent with opportunity. Whether you're an athlete looking to transfer to a new college team or a coach searching for the next star player, PAC-Hub has the tools you need to succeed. Don't miss out on the chance to be part of this amazing community. Join PAC-Hub today and take the next step in your baseball journey. Visit www.pac-hub.com to sign up now.
At the collegiate level, I know you still have a lot of connections having coached for a long time in college. What's kind of the vibe that you're getting from those coaches in terms of NIL?
Yeah, I like having these conversations just to try to stay up to date, obviously, with what's happening on the D3 level, the D2 level, and then the mid-major level, and then the Power 4 level. And I know folks often get caught up in Division I, Division II, Division III. I would often argue, and especially now in the NIL age, the gap is getting bigger and bigger from the Power 4s to everyone else. In other words, I think the financial resources at the mid-major even mid-major or low Division I level could be closer to the Division II level than they are to the Power 4 level. What do I mean? I've had conversations in the last year or so with, again, on the women's basketball side of things, and I'll say, hey, what does the NIL level look like at a Big South school or an ASUN school? And they might say, well, coach, our kids some of them are getting cheeseburger deals or car wash deals, and some of them are getting $5,000 maybe. Is $5,000 a big deal? It depends who you're asking, right? And is it a short term? And I think that's one of the big challenges. Are folks taking short-term handouts to go to school A, B, or C, or are they making a 20-year or a 40-year decision on graduating from school X, Y, Z? So let me take that a bit further. I had the conversation, Big South ASUN school might be $5,000, $10,000. Then I had a conversation recently with a couple CAA coaches, Colonial Athletic Association mid-major, and they said, Coach, that we've got players in our conference getting $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. And then I've had conversations with ACC and SEC coaches. And again, this is all on the women's basketball side of things. And there's players getting $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. And so that's a pretty significant jump when all of those are Division I labels going from $5,000 a year to $15,000 a year to $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year, and some even more than that. Your superstars, top players in the country. And at the Division II and the Division III level, I don't really think that's happening very much. Again, you're trying to earn a scholarship. Maybe you have a partial scholarship. Maybe you have a full scholarship. And again, you're probably there really, really focused on that academic degree.
It's fascinating. And I think one other aspect that will lead to this increased gap between the power conference schools and the mid-majors and D2 and D3, the house settlement. We spoke about that on a previous episode in this show, but the fact that some of these bigger schools who can afford it will be able to divide up about $21 million amongst their football, men's and women's basketball student athletes. So certainly a lot of changes, certainly a lot of things to look out for in the world of recruiting and NIL. Last question I want to ask you about here, Josh. I know that you have experience coaching internationally as well. So speaking of gaps, on the women's side of basketball, the gap has shrunk between U.S. and worldwide basketball. What have your experiences been like? What are you seeing in terms of how they're developing players overseas versus what we're doing here in the U.S.?
It's really exciting to see how the global game has grown. And again, I go back to what Mike Neighbors, head coach at Arkansas, says, how are we growing the game? And I think we've really invested globally in trying to and I mean, the U.S. over the last 25 years in trying to help coaches coach internationally. And obviously the technology is rampant. You can go on YouTube and find training videos. You can watch any games, college games, pro games, so on and so forth. And again, I think that's a net win for everyone. 30 years ago, the U.S. men were winning every Olympic game by 30, 40, 50, 60, fill in the blank with whatever I want the score to be, right? And okay, that's exciting that we're winning, but is that great for the game? And now the Olympics last year, John, were awesome. I loved watching not just the U.S. teams. Spain runs some incredible sets. Lithuania runs some incredible sets, and just stealing from them. The Spain pick and roll is stolen by a lot of American college teams now and NBA teams. And so just the overall growth of the game, I think, has been fascinating. Obviously, there's professional leagues all over the world. Tiffany Mitchell played for me at Providence Day, is in the WNBA, starring there, and she's playing in Israel again right now. She's played professionally in Russia. Stephanie Watts, who was a guest on my podcast last summer, playing professionally. Aaron Whalen played for me at Providence Day and finished playing in New Zealand in the last year and playing in Spain. And so it's exciting to see these opportunities. Everybody sees NBA and WNBA, and obviously that's the big ticket. However, there are some incredible leagues all across the world. And one of the things I will say is, again, just highlighting opportunities for women. There are a lot of other countries around the world where women haven't had the same opportunities as men in the sporting world. One place that I think has done it really, really well is Australia. The Australian Institute of Sport, and I'm fortunate to have several contacts with coaches down there. They teach the game really, really well. The fundamentals, the discipline. And one of the things that's interesting, not to get on a youth sports tangent, but in America, we often have one or two practices to one game. That's often the American model. And over there, they have 7, 8, 10 practices to one game where the focus is on skill development and skill development and skill development. And oftentimes in the U.S., youth sports is, hey, let's put Johnny out there at 9 a.m. Mom and dad, pay your $20, watch him play, rinse, repeat 2 days later or 5 days later. And so I will say coaching internationally has been a real joy. Being able to meet so many other players, coaches, learn their cultures, and just hopefully try to help grow the game globally.
That's awesome stuff. Well, Josh, we really appreciate your time and insight today. Truly an insightful show. 10-time North Carolina State champion head coach Josh Springer. Coach, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Have a blessed day, John.
Same to you. And there you have it, everybody. Josh Springer, big thanks to him for joining us today. A lot of awesome insight in the world of high school athletics, NIL, recruiting, and so much more. And a reminder, check out www.pac-hub.com, bottom of your screen, to learn more about all of the great things you can find at PAC-Hub. Thanks again for joining us, everybody, and we will talk to you on our next episode of the Around the Huddle podcast.